Welcome to Ask the Expert, an award-winning daily live show from 8:30 to 9 a.m. to help small businesses. If you have any questions, ask them in the comments of the live feed. And if you need any more advice, join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. Accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7. So my name is Ying. I'm the chief executive and founder of a company called Dynamo. We're one of the largest mortgage brokerages in the UK. I wanted to really start by giving you a bit of background and context to my story. And it starts way back in 1959. My father was 19 years old and he traveled, hitchhiked in fact, from Malaysia to the United Kingdom with £20 in his pocket. And you heard that right, he hitchhiked. It took him around 4 to 5 months. And his story has inspired me to get me to where I am today in business, which is why I think it's important that I share it with you. So he took a ferry across to Sri Lanka, and from Sri Lanka he met up with some Boy Scouts that he knew from his Boy Scout community, and he went on his journey. And he came across so many obstacles, and the sacrifices he made has given me the foundation for my why. A few examples are, he almost died in Pakistan because he got food poisoning, and the partner he went with, not maliciously, but actually left him thinking that he was going to take it, he was not going to make it through and he was going to die. So he took his belongings, but he's fought back from that. And in addition to that, he was chucked in jail into India. He was in the Middle East. He got attacked by shepherds. He would sleep under tunnels. He would go and get food and shelter in churches and temples and schools. He was so cold, he had to go and get jackets and had to trade in his watch. So, he was the eldest of 12 children. And his father didn't want him to go, but he wanted to go and seek a better life and get better riches to give opportunity for people like myself. We mustn't underestimate the ripple effect that people have and our ancestors have had. The reason I say that is if he hadn't made those sacrifices and the hard work, clearly I wouldn't be here today. And if I wasn't here today, the people I've impacted in my business journey wouldn't have been impacted. So be careful. Choices that you make in your life can have a massive ripple effect. But going back to the story of my father, he made his way through the rest of Europe, and it took him about 3 or 4 months. And the story I wanted to share with you really is at the end of the journey, because he was sat there waiting at a port for 3 days. He'd run out of money, and the captain of a ship kept walking past. And the 3rd or 4th day he walked past, he said, "Son, why are you still here? I've got no money." "Well, I'm going to take you on my ship, and I will get you across. And when you've got the money, your first paycheck, please send it back to me." So firstly, that generosity of that man, that one act of generosity that he did has impacted my father and the ripple effect of everyone else that my father and indeed I have impacted. But he crossed the channel, got on the ferry, went to get a job as a kitchen hand in Cumberland Hotel in Marble Arch. And from that, he got his first paycheck, and true to his words, he paid the captain back. And I think that's another life lesson to be learned, that when you say something, you do it. And that's exactly what he did. He paid him. He could have, there was no social media those days, not very easy to contact people, could have easily kind of disappeared. But he was an honourable man, my father, and he did that. He paid and he went back. So it's very important, I think, that from a business lesson, that journey has really created ripple effects throughout the whole of my life and indeed my father's life. And the choices you make can have a profound impact. And it's not just about you. It's much bigger than you. And I guess that comes into, the hard work, the sacrifice. My parents worked 2 jobs, worked very hard. So I grew up in a council estate. I was lucky. I got to university, but I always knew that my father and my mother had given me such opportunity to be able to better myself from an educational perspective. So I kind of fast forward, I graduated from university. I'm an ex-investment banker. I worked like Deutsche Bank, UBS, Goldman Sachs. I'm a qualified accountant. And I really set the business up because as I was building my property portfolio, I was going to my mortgage broker, telling him what to do, when to do, and how to do it. And I thought, blimey, if this is the best the mortgage world can offer me, I should do it myself. So after the Twin Towers came down, I was reflected on my life and said, is that a corporate career the way I want to go, or do I want to set my own business up? And that was because I was in New York the day before it all happened. I decided to quit and set my own business up. I was a full-time landlord for 3 or 4 years, and then I set the Buy-to-Let Business Limited up, which was a mortgage broker servicing buy-to-let landlords in 2006. It was just me, myself, and I in a small office in Guildford, a small Regis office. We've since grown there, fast forward 15 years, to one of the largest mortgage brokerages in the UK with over 200 staff at its largest. We're now, downsized a little bit, and efficiencies introduced by systems, and we're probably 130, 140 strong now. We're dynamic, we're entrepreneurial, and we're innovative, and we are there to kind of develop people. But what I'm very proud about, we take people, it doesn't matter if you're a burger flipper from McDonald's or whether you're an MBA graduate from Harvard, the majority of the people are actually the burger flipper from McDonald's. And it goes back to what I said about my father, that we've been able to change their lives, impact them, and give them an opportunity. So we scaled the business up organically. It was bootstrapped, so not a penny of investment up until 2016, and countrywide, and FTSE 250 business invested into the company, although they didn't actually put money in the business. They acquired a share of mine, and we've gone on a great partnership journey after the last 5 years with them. Since then, Countrywide have been acquired by Connells, and Connells are our new partner. And it's been a fantastic journey. And what made me so proud is that we've scaled the business, without huge investment in capital. We've taken the profits each month and reinvested it. I've sacrificed dividends, and without getting the violin out, during the credit crunch 2008 to 2009, it was really tough times. Couldn't pay ourselves, but it's long-term gain for short-term pain, and that's exactly what we did. So it's been a fantastic journey, and we continue to grow people. We do residential mortgages, commercial mortgages, second charges, but our core and our DNA is definitely buy-to-let mortgages. I see myself as an entrepreneur. We've won multiple awards. I've also written a book called Don't Push Too Many Trolleys, and that is a book which reflects on some of the life lessons that I had to see how you can become the best version of yourself. It's not how do you make £1 million and just text and practical stuff. It's about how I've done it and my journey, and maybe you can learn from that journey to help you on your road to success, because we're all different. So I think it's really important that you have your why, and my why was initially my parents and is now my family. I'm a father of 5 children, and clearly husband to a wonderful wife, and that's my why. And I work extremely hard each day with my business because of what I want to be able to provide to my family, and to honour my parents, who sadly are no longer with us, sadly they passed away in the last couple of years. But I want to continue to ensure that the sacrifices they made are not in vain, and to ensure that their legacy continues within me and indeed my family. So I'm very passionate about business. I'm very passionate about growing businesses. I'm also an angel investor. I've invested in a number of different businesses over the years, and I'm really passionate about connecting, collaborating, and helping build a network to better yourself both professionally and personally. Hopefully that's given you a little bit of a flavour about myself. Keen to talk more. So let's have a look. Okay, we've got a few questions here. Let me just review this. Okay, right. We've got a question from Sreet, a Twitter DM. Sreet would like to take a leap and run his own business, but he's not sure what yet. How did you figure out what your route was, and did you come to it, or did you see a gap in the market? Well, that's a great question, Sreet, and I think first and foremost you've got to do something you enjoy. Okay, I did mortgages because I was passionate about property. I'd built up quite a large property portfolio, and as I said, I was going to my mortgage broker, telling him what to do, when to do, and how to do it, and I saw that was done poorly. And because it was done poorly, I felt it could be done better. And therefore, I saw that gap in the market and did it. But if I saw a gap in the market which I wasn't passionate about or I wasn't interested about, I would say that is the wrong choice to make, because money can't motivate you forever. You've got to enjoy what you're doing. So I think, if you want to take the leap, I was fortunate. I was a qualified accountant. I had a good career. I was one of the youngest vice presidents of Goldman Sachs when I took that leap into my own business. So I always felt that if I didn't quite make it, I had something to fall back on. Not only everyone is fortunate to do that. And if that's the case, then, make sure you do a calculated risk. Make sure you assess things. What could you lose? What do you need to do to minimize your risk? What due diligence can you do to help give you more opportunities to succeed? So for me, I saw the niche because the service that was being offered to me was poor. I was passionate about property, and finance is clearly a sidekick to property, and that's why I took the leap of faith. I would urge you to do it. I think if I was to ask my younger self, give myself any advice, I would say don't procrastinate, just do it. And generally, fortune favors the brave. I hope that's helped. Just scrolling down, looking at the next question is from Tim. Hi, Tim. How are you? From Facebook Messenger. When do you know the best time to scale up and hire the first, second, and so on person? Wow, what a great question. I don't think you know when you start out. You write a business plan, and it really doesn't matter what that business plan is. The reality is it's going to probably not stick to plan, but it gives you a guide. It gives you a template, a blueprint. But knowing when to recruit the first and second person, for me, it depends what your objective is. Some people set up a business for lifestyle. And if you set up a business for lifestyle, then you've clearly got different objectives, and you want to, work, get a good income and do what you want to do. I set up a business to start it, to scale it, to build it, and in time to exit it. So for that reason, I knew that I wasn't going to take lots of money out of the business, so I kept the money in the business. But I only took my first staff on when I'd made enough money. What I would, be wary of is not to just take lots of investments, to give up lots of equity of the business, unless you feel that is required to help you grow. So I think, there is no best time. Every business is different. But I would take the bold jump and recruit quickly, for sure. When you find someone that first person is key. They say you are the average of the 5 people that surround you, and every one of us has seeds of greatness. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that you've got to make sure you get your first few recruits right, and if they're not, don't be afraid to make tough decisions, but be bold. Make that recruit, and don't look back, and keep moving forward. And best of luck. Hope you find the right path in your scaling journey. Right. Okay. Next question. How did you factor in cash flow over the years? It must have changed a lot with quite a few market crashes. Were you affected by downturns? Absolutely. One of the things that in fact, the title of my book, as I said at the beginning, was Don't Push Too Many Trolleys. It really was born out initially from my first job as a 16-year-old, where I was trying to be really efficient with everything I did, and I was a trolley boy. And rather than taking one trolley at a time, I wanted to row them all up, so I put them all together and push them all to the front. You should have really done 6 to 8, but I did around 20, 25 trolleys. I pushed it, and I thought, this is really clever of me. I was competitive, wanted to beat the other trolley boys, and on my first day, I lost control and smashed into a car. And what that taught me was, don't take on more than you can do. Don't spin too many plates. Don't juggle too many balls. Don't push too many trolleys. I was pulled in, and I was reprimanded, and rightly so. But it taught me a life lesson to make sure I don't take off, bite off more than I can chew. I was still only 16 and 17. I didn't fully learn from that, and this is where it feeds into the recession. And then in 2006, the recession happened. It was probably about 2007, 2008. And you're right, the business levels fell off a cliff. Our market went from a £42 billion market to an £8 billion market. So quite a catastrophic jump down. So the lesson that Don't Push Too Many Trolleys taught me was, have a focus, have a niche. Okay, focus on what you want. And my expertise was buy to let, so I could have easily done lots of different verticals: mortgage, residential, commercial, second charges. But I wanted to be the very best at buy to let first. Okay, before I then branched out, and that was the lesson I learned out of the back of the credit crunch, and that allowed me to keep a good cash flow, because if I looked at lots of different places, lots of different products and verticals, I would have had to invest more money into those verticals to become good at it. Even if you look at Amazon, they became the very best bookseller, period, in the world before they sold everything else under the sun, right? So they became the very best at that first. And then they branched out. So, from a cash flow perspective, the credit crunch was really tough. So we had to let staff go very sadly, very quickly, to maintain cash flow. And we had to focus on our area of niche very carefully, so we didn't lose cash in investing other business lines when we hadn't even developed momentum in our core area of expertise. So that would be my advice, and hopefully that helped in terms of how cash flow has been a bit of a challenge maybe over the years, and how I've tried to negotiate it, to be focused and to be not push too many trolleys, and to master your niche before you look elsewhere. Okay, next question. Thank you, Ben. Very kind of you to say such nice words. And your question is, what did you want to be when you were a young man? Wow, that's another great question. I think probably the truth be told is I wanted to be a footballer as a young lad. You know, 8 or 9, I was running around the park, kicking footballs around, massive Liverpool fan. But, you know, you quickly realize that no matter how good you are at football, you've got to be very, very good and very, very lucky and work very, very hard to be able to get that break. And even then, you know, it doesn't always work out. So for me, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I come from a Chinese Asian background family. So, you know, my parents said, you've got to be a doctor, you've got to be an accountant, you've got to be a lawyer. So I became an accountant. I wouldn't say I wanted to be an accountant, but what that did is gave me a really good platform, because if things didn't work out in business, remember many businesses fail, I was lucky enough to have the education to say, okay, I could go and get a job in the corporate world, no problem at all. Also, by being an accountant, it gave me the financial mindset and tools to help me run my business. I think all MDs and owners of the business clearly need the sales side, but in addition to the sales side, it's vitally important you understand your numbers. You can always outsource it. You can get a good CFO, financial director, but if you understand your numbers yourself, when you get those monthly management accounts, and you notice I said monthly, a lot of people do their accounts once a year. They don't get monthly management accounts. If you want to truly grow and scale your business, I absolutely implore you that you get monthly management accounts, because then you can adjust and pivot far more quickly. There's no point waiting for a year and then finding it 9 months later to see that, because those numbers will tell you a story which you no longer can react to. Getting monthly management accounts are worth the weight in gold, because you can see your cash flow, you can see your profit, you can see what levers you can pull from your income, what costs you can cut from your expenses, and that will allow you to adjust, pivot, and grow and scale far more productively and efficiently. So hopefully that helped. I wanted to be an entrepreneur, always have been, but knew that before I became that, I wanted to sow the seed to get a good background and get a good education behind me to have something to fall back on should that entrepreneurial journey not work. Great. Okay, so thank you for that question, Ben. Just having a look, there's a couple more questions here that I want to cover. So Wan from Facebook as well. What would you tell your father if you could go back in time to advise him? Wow, okay, that's a great question. My father sadly passed away only 6 months ago, so it's relatively raw still. You know, it was my mum passed away 2 years prior to that, and that was quite a difficult journey. We had to fly her back from Singapore in an air ambulance, effectively on the back of a commercial aeroplane, on a life support machine, and it cost a lot of money and was quite traumatic. And I think that really affected my dad for the last couple of years. But if I could go back to him, I would tell him and I would thank him for all the sacrifices and hard work that he did. You know, that journey, I don't think any of us can truly comprehend how hard it would be to hitchhike, you know, halfway around the world to try, you know, at a time when Malaysia was part of the UK British Commonwealth, and it was a lot easier to come as an immigrant. And, you know, he came in, worked hard, that daring nature that I will not look back, that I will keep going for that journey. So, you know, I would thank him more than anything. I wouldn't advise him to do anything different. I'm sure he might want to have done things different, but, you know, I'm a big fan of not looking back and being thankful for what I've got and showing that gratitude for what I've got. So I would go back and thank him for all the sacrifices he made, thank him for all the heartache and the sweat, blood and tears that he did to work to give me and my sister the opportunity to be who we are today. And I think that gratitude and appreciating our family gives us the values and the ethos and ethics that I think are required to succeed in business today. So I hope that helped in terms of answering that question. So thank you for that very kind question, Juan. The next question is, how can people find their why for themselves or their business? That's a great question. And I think I can't answer that because everyone's why is their own, right? You know, my why, I think, you know, I often reflect on myself and say, why am I so driven? Why am I so, you know, relentless in my pursuit of, you know, being successful, however that is defined, you know, with happiness and health, but also financially. And it is because I saw how hard my parents suffered. You know, my dad, even as a 55-year-old, you know, whilst he came to the UK, he didn't have it rosy. You know, we come from a tough upbringing, like I said. You know, there were times where he had to cook chickens via the radiator in his one-bedroom flat. You know, and he worked 2 jobs, as did my mum. You know, they would have an office job from 9 to 5. They'd come back, cook food, 6 o'clock, they'd go off and work 4 hours in the evening. And Dad was cleaning, you know, was a a housekeeper in hospital, you know, cleaning the floors and everything, you know, up until 55, 60. And that's why I was driven to be successful. I got a great job in investment banking so I could earn the money to support my parents so I could send them back and retire. And they had a great retirement life in the last 20 years of their life. But they worked very hard, and that's where my drive comes from. So, you know, I think it's difficult to tell people how they can find their own why. Only you can find your own why. What's important to you? What drives you? What gets you up each day? And if you don't have any of those things that get you up each day or that drive you, find something. Because for you to be relentless in your pursuit of success, whatever success is, and success is not just related to money, then you need to have something that keeps driving you. Because I could give you the most Churchillian speech of all time, but it will only pick you up for a short period of time, and then you'll drop down again. The only person that's going to pick you up yourself is you, and you've got to find that from within. Thank you, Connor, for that question. Susie, what do you tell your children about values? Wow, another great question. Really great questions coming here from social media. So what do I tell my children about values? I tell them it's important, first and foremost. In fact, one of the drivers for writing the book was for my children. When my mum passed away at the end of 2018, I wanted to get some of my thoughts down on paper. And I felt my children were still too young. My eldest is now 16, at the time would have been 14. My second son is 14, would have been 12 then. And my third son is 10, would have been 8. And, you know, the 2 new twin girls weren't yet born yet, but they're now 2 years old. So I knew they were probably all too young to really understand values, ethos, ethics, and things we've done. And that's why I wanted to put it on paper. It wasn't to make money. You know, those of you who are publishing knows that you're not going to make much money writing books. But it was to leave a legacy to my children. And that was very important to me. So I tell them that values are important, that having the right ethics and having the right mindset is really important. You know, do things the right way. And, you know, simple values like say as you do, you know, that simple thing that my father said when he went back, when he came to England and he said he was going to pay that man back. He did. I've used that in property. I've gone and bought a property. And if I said I'm going to buy it in 28 days, I bought it in 28 days. And guess what? That estate agent has always come back to me. So equally, I've had staff that said, if you achieve X, Y, and Z, I will promote you. And they achieve X, Y, and Z. And guess what? I delivered that. We promoted them. So having those values and those simple mindsets will really help you on your journey to success. And I implore them, although it's a lot harder, you know, they can have anything they want. I struggled for anything. I had to go and get a job. My children don't have to do that. So I think it's really hard in the current world because there is this world of instant gratification, you know, where everything has to be instant. And I kind of urge you all that nothing is instant. You've got to work hard and you've got to have that right drive and ethics. And that's what I want my children to have that long-term approach and not that short-term thinking. Lisa from Facebook, have you ever suffered from racism during your career? Has COVID-19 impacted any experience of racism? Do you have anything in your own business to stop that from happening? Wow, what a great, great question. So I have been lucky in my adult career that I never suffered from racism. But of course, when I was growing up, I did. I lived on a council estate. People used derogatory terms to call Chinese people and call Chinese food. And they probably thought nothing of it and didn't even think it was offensive. But I always stood up for myself. I was fiercely proud of my family heritage. I remember a time when I was in my estate and some kids were throwing bricks at the gate and calling us bad names and things. But to a certain degree, that helped drive me in my my relentless pursuit for success. But I have to say, I was, you know, I grew up in a predominantly white town. I was the only Chinese boy at school. But that said, once I reached 17, 18, I never really experienced it, and I haven't experienced it today. You know, I was one of the youngest qualified accountants. I was one of the youngest vice presidents. I was the MD of this business at 30. I've won numerous awards across the industry in what is a predominantly white, middle-aged group. So I can't say that since I've become an adult, I've ever experienced it. I've always been very lucky with that. But I know many of my peers have, and it's not acceptable. Clearly, with COVID onset, there's been some elements of Asian discrimination for lots of wrong reasons. And I'm passionate, and I'm part of a diversity and inclusion committee within our industry, which hopefully stamps out that. And I think getting a more diverse and inclusive environment will allow far greater productivity in the working place, without a doubt. I'm very proud that we have a very good balance within our business and within our senior management team. So hopefully that's a bit of insight into my story, and I hope that's helped. Next question, Aka from Facebook Messenger. Do you think having a career in banking helps in starting a company? If you stayed at Goldman Sachs, do you think you could be earning more? Yes, earning more, definitely. To this day, I was earning a very strong six-figure salary when I was at Goldman Sachs, and that was almost 20 years ago now. I've never paid myself that much. That's the sacrifice of someone who sets up their own business. You know, you pay yourself last, and you generally pay yourself least. I only started to probably pay myself a market salary in the last 4 or 5 years. And like I said, in 2007, 2008, 2010, I didn't pay myself at all to keep the business afloat. But like I've hopefully given you the strength of the message during this whole session, is that it's not a short-term game. You know, the way you make your wealth in business, if you're looking to buy and scale, exit, is when you sell, or if someone invests in the business. And with the tax efficiencies, the entrepreneur's relief, you can earn significantly more. So I think with starting a business, you know, you can earn a good income if that's your objective. But if you want to make a good capital sum one day, then you will be looking for an event or an exit. And to do that, generally, you have to make a lot more sacrifices along the way as a chief executive and as founder of a business. So I think if I was still at Goldman's today, I would be earning more, but I don't think I'll be wealthier from a happiness perspective, because you do have to work very long hours. But more importantly as well, you know, now the business is of value, all my wealth is in this business, you know, and it's a big multiple of our profit and turnover, which is obviously very good for a business at our size. So I think from an income perspective, I'd be better off at Goldman's, but from a wealth creation perspective, far, far better doing what I'm doing now. We're coming towards the end of the session, but I think we can take a few more questions. Poon, another question from Facebook Messenger. From your trolley lesson, is there anything you can recommend to stop my staff from getting burnout? Actually, me as well. Yeah, I hear you from that. The 4 of us work 100+ hours a week. Wow. Okay. Yeah, very long hours. And, you know, people often ask, can you get the balance in business? The reality is I don't think there is a balance in business, certainly not in the early days. I think I've got that balance now, but I've had to work very hard to build a business where I've got a super strong management team that can look after the business and run the business for me. But there was a lot of sacrifices in the early days and long hours like you, 100+ hours. So I think stopping burnout, it's important you do things, simple things, eat well, drink well. And by that, I don't mean alcohol. You know, have your water and lemon or whatever. I hear turmeric is really good. Eat healthy foods, but also have me time. You know, if you're into meditation or yoga, that's really good. But for half an hour a day, or even 15 minutes if you can spare it, whether it's your family, whether it's your loved ones, your parents, whatever, just try and find 15 to 30 minutes for yourself. And that will hopefully stop you from burnout, but also link the two, your hard work, your business, to your whys. Why are you working 100 hours a week? Is it something to do because you're looking for your family, to spend time with your family? If so, there's no point working 100 hours a week, burning yourself out, running yourself in the ground and not being able to spend time with your family. The question I always like to ask is, if you were on your deathbed, would you look back at yourself and be happy with what you achieved? If the answer is no, then look at reassessing and readdressing. And 100 hours seems too much to me. Time is the most valuable currency for us all. No matter how rich we are, we have a finite amount of time. And for me, I'm 45 years old. I've got probably about equal amount of runway in front of me as I have behind me. So surround yourself with good people, because time is the most valuable commodity and the most valuable currency. And once spent, it's gone. That looks like it. We are 9 o'clock now, so we're almost on point for half an hour. I just want to thank you all for tuning in this morning. If you have any questions, then please do get in touch with myself on ying8tan@gmail.com. Equally, reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm also very active on Clubhouse, or you can find me on Instagram. Just search my name, and hopefully you'll be able to match the face, and please do connect. Coming up on Ask the Expert tomorrow is Aaron Patrick, Head of Accounts at Bofix. He has a great YouTube channel called Aaron Patrick, the QuickBooks Chap, where he gives you a tour into the world of QuickBooks Online. Tune in to find out what business owners learned from the challenges faced in the past year. That looks like it's going to be a great session. A reminder that if you need any more advice, join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. Accountants and businesses experts are on hand 24/7. I really, really enjoyed my session today and answering your questions, and I hope I've been able to add value to what you do. I hope that you've got some nuggets from what I've got to say to help you on your journey to success. Thank you. Have a fantastic day and enjoy hopefully the sun, which is now shining. Thank you very much.